The studio lights were bright, the air tense, and Pam Bondi's expression said it all. Something serious had just happened. Sitting across from the host, she leaned slightly forward, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "A major terror attack was stopped," she said carefully. "And I mean major. Lives were saved, possibly thousands." The words hit the newsroom like a shockwave. The host blinked, taken aback, trying to process what he'd just heard. Around them, the control room erupted with motion. Producers talking into headsets, editors scrambling to verify the breaking headline. Pam didn't elaborate. She paused, choosing her words with precision. "I can't give full details yet," she continued. "But what I can say is, this operation prevented something that could have changed this country forever." Her tone was controlled, but the gravity in her eyes said more than her words ever could. The camera zoomed in slightly. The audience watching live at home could feel it, that strange, uneasy silence that follows a shocking truth. Social media timelines began to light up almost instantly. "Pam Bondi just said a major terror attack was stopped. What city? What's happening? Why aren't they telling us more?" Within minutes, her statement was everywhere. Trending hashtags, urgent headlines, and endless speculation. Some praised her courage for speaking out. Others demanded details. The host, still caught between curiosity and caution, asked, "Pam, can you tell us where this happened? Or who stopped it?" She gave a faint, deliberate smile. "All I can say for now," she replied, "is that law enforcement and intelligence teams acted swiftly, and they deserve the nation's gratitude. More details will come soon." Then she leaned back slightly, almost as if she knew she'd just ignited a firestorm. The segment ended, but the shock did not. Viewers across the country, one and the world, Nigan, sat frozen in front of their screens, wondering the same thing. What attack was she talking about? And how close did it come to succeeding? Pam Bondi's brief but powerful statement had set off a wave of panic and speculation across the country. Within minutes, every major news outlet was replaying her words on a loop. The words "major terror attack" flashed in bold red banners across TV screens. Yet, there were no details. No names, no cities, no suspects. The silence made it even scarier. Anchors tried to piece it together. Analysts debated endlessly. Some wondered if it was an international threat. Others whispered that it might have been homegrown. The public was desperate to know, and who stopped it and how close did it get? Online theories multiplied by the second. Twitter, X, and TikTok exploded with clips from Pam's interview. People froze the video, analyzing her tone, her facial expressions, her pauses. Some viewers swore she looked emotional, even shaken, as if she'd seen classified details that haunted her. The nation held its breath. In one trending clip, a user wrote, "She's not just saying this for attention. Look at her eyes, and something massive just got covered up." The speculation was endless, but Pam Bondi herself went silent. She didn't post, didn't tweet, didn't clarify. That silence only fueled the storm. Meanwhile, unconfirmed reports began to trickle in. Anonymous sources suggested that federal agencies had intercepted a large-scale plot involving multiple suspects. One report mentioned critical infrastructure. Another hinted at public events. Nothing was confirmed. And that uncertainty made everyone uneasy. Even journalists inside the networks admitted, privately, that they'd never seen anything like this. "It's like something huge happened," one producer whispered off camera, "and we only got the tiniest piece of the puzzle." The story had now moved from breaking news to full-blown national obsession. People were glued to their phones, looking for updates every few minutes. Then came another small but chilling clue. A former intelligence official appeared on a different news channel and said, "What Pam Bondi said is an exaggeration. This was a coordinated plan, and it was very close to execution." The anchor leaned forward, shocked. "Are you saying it was imminent?" The official nodded grimly. Hours, maybe even minutes away. That statement was enough to send shockwaves online once again. Comment sections filled instantly. "If it was that close, how are we just hearing about it now?" They're hiding something big. They always do. Thank God someone stopped it. And amid all this chaos, one thing became clear. Pam Bondi's credibility made the story impossible to ignore. She wasn't just a commentator. She was a seasoned prosecutor and former attorney general, someone who understood the gravity of national security. When she spoke in that tone, people listened. Still, viewers demanded answers. What city? Who was the target? Were there casualties? No one knew, but everyone wanted to. Then, on one late-night talk show, the host replayed Pam's clip and asked the audience a question that resonated across social media. If a terror attack was truly stopped, do we deserve to know every detail? Or are some secrets better kept, even in a democracy? That question went viral. People began debating it in comment sections, podcasts, and live streams worldwide. Some argued for transparency. Others believed secrecy was necessary to protect ongoing operations. What do you think? Should governments reveal the full truth about foiled attacks, or keep things classified to avoid panic? Let me know in the comments below. I read every opinion. And tell me, which country or city are you watching this story from? It's powerful to see how people from around the world react to the same truth. Back in Washington, new developments were unfolding quietly behind closed doors. Officials from multiple agencies met late into the night. Satellite feeds, intercepted communications, and encrypted files were all being reviewed again. The key question: how close had they come to disaster? And yet, as the nation demanded answers, Pam Bondi's earlier promise still echoed through every newsroom. More details will come soon. That single line became the heartbeat of the story, both a warning and a promise. Everyone waited for her to speak again. Reporters camped outside studios. Bloggers refreshed news feeds every few minutes. Hours turned into a full day, then another. The silence became unbearable. By now, even world leaders were quietly seeking briefings on what had really happened. It was no longer just America's story, it was global. One thing was clear: whatever was stopped, it wasn't small. And when Pam Bondi finally decided to speak again, the world would be listening, and this time, she wouldn't hold back. The world was waiting. But behind the scenes, the truth was far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. While TV panels debated and headlines screamed for updates, a small windowless room deep inside Washington buzzed with tension. Inside sat a mix of intelligence officers, cybersecurity analysts, and counterterrorism experts, the unsung heroes who had just prevented one of the most devastating attacks in recent history. The operation that stopped it wasn't luck. It was precision, timing, and a little bit of instinct. It all started weeks earlier, when a routine data scan flagged an unusual communication pattern between multiple encrypted servers. At first it looked harmless, digital chatter in foreign languages bouncing across random VPN nodes. But one analyst, a young woman named Sarah Klein, noticed something strange. "These pings aren't random," she told her supervisor. "They're synchronized, like someone testing timing signals." Her supervisor frowned. Could be cyber drills or fake accounts. But a man entered with a suitcase, stayed for exactly 11 hours, and vanished. He paid in cash. No phone, no ID. But facial recognition matched him to an international watch list, a suspected recruiter tied to extremist networks. Within hours, local police, FBI, and federal cyber units converged on the hotel. They found his abandoned laptop in the room, left behind intentionally, but encrypted. It took the NSA's most advanced decryption software 3 days to break through. And what they found inside changed everything. Blueprints, timetables, coordinated maps of multiple cities: New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C., each tagged for simultaneous disruption. If not for the interception, millions could have been at risk. Pam Bondi's earlier statement now made perfect sense. This was the major attack she was talking about. The kind of event that would have shaken the entire world if even one stage had succeeded. When intelligence briefings reached senior officials, including members of Congress, one official reportedly turned pale and said, "If that plan had launched, we'd be talking about a national emergency right now." The gravity of what was stopped couldn't be overstated. If you're watching this right now, take a moment to think about how many lives were quietly protected by people we'll never see on camera. Type "thank you" in the comments if you respect those silent heroes who keep our world safe. As agencies wrapped up their findings, one final detail left everyone stunned: the attack's timing. It had been scheduled for a symbolic date, one connected to a past tragedy. The attackers intended to strike when the nation's guard was emotionally down. The sheer audacity of the plan shocked even veteran investigators. But here's what few people knew. Pam Bondi had received her information directly from one of the officials inside that operation, someone who wanted the public to understand how close they came and how vital these unseen efforts are. When she spoke those 14 words on air, a major terror attack was stopped. More details to come. She was deliberately holding back. Why? Because the case wasn't closed. There were still fugitives abroad, still hidden operatives being tracked. Her silence wasn't secrecy. It was strategy. What do you think? Should officials like Pam reveal the truth immediately, even if the operation isn't complete, or wait until every suspect is caught? Let me know your take in the comments. In the end, as the public speculated and reporters hunted for leads, the reality was chilling but hopeful. A network of dedicated people, from analysts like Sarah to customs officers at the port, to cyber specialists deep in government servers, had quietly prevented what could have been one of the darkest days in modern history. And thanks to Pam Bondi's brave statement, the world was beginning to understand that danger had been closer than anyone realized. But as she promised, the story wasn't over. More details were still to come. And the next time Pam Bondi appeared on camera, she wouldn't just confirm what happened, she'd name names, and that, the world knew, would change everything. It had been 3 long days since Pam Bondi's shocking announcement. The entire country was on edge. Talk shows replayed her clip endlessly. Pundits speculated. News anchors leaned in dramatically every time her name was mentioned. And then, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. Pam Bondi was back on air. This time, she wasn't giving a short statement. She was sitting across from one of the top anchors in America, inside a primetime studio, with cameras rolling and millions of viewers watching live. As the broadcast opened, the anchor's tone was serious, almost heavy. Pam Bondi joins us tonight with new information about the major terror plot that, according to sources, was stopped just in time. Pam looked calm, collected. But her eyes told a story of sleepless nights and weighty truth. Yes, she began softly, and the American people deserve to know how close we came. The studio went silent. Even the anchor leaned forward, ready to listen. Pam explained that the intercepted plot had been months in the making, involving multiple cells operating independently, but coordinated through encrypted online systems. It wasn't just one group, it was a network. They had insiders, she said, and they had access to technology that could have caused chaos on a level we've never seen before. The anchor asked, "Can you tell us which cities were targeted?" Pam paused, then nodded. New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. A deep gasp echoed through the audience. The anchor's voice tightened. Those are 4 of the largest cities in America. Pam nodded again. Each one was selected for a specific reason: symbolism, visibility, impact. The attack wasn't just about destruction. It was meant to cripple national morale, to make citizens feel unsafe in places they trusted most. Pam revealed that part of the operation included plans to target transportation systems and energy grids, aiming to plunge entire districts into confusion. The goal wasn't just to take lives, she said quietly. It was to break the spirit of the country. For a moment, you could hear the faint hum of the studio lights. No one dared interrupt. Then came the question everyone wanted answered. Pam, how close did they get? Her expression darkened. Too close. If it weren't for a single cybersecurity analyst noticing something unusual, we might not be sitting here tonight. She didn't name Sarah. Klein, the young analyst whose instinct had triggered the investigation, but she hinted at a team of unsung heroes who worked day and night to trace, intercept, and neutralize the threat before it could unfold. And then Pam leaned forward and added something that stunned even the seasoned anchor. This wasn't just domestic. There were outside connections, and let's just say, not all of them were foreign governments. The anchor blinked. Are you suggesting there were American collaborators? Pam hesitated, then replied carefully. Some individuals involved had U.S. passports. I'll leave it at that for now. That single sentence sent shockwaves through the studio and across the internet. Within minutes, social media exploded. American citizens involved. This is deeper than we thought. How Pam Bondi just dropped a bombshell. Pam continued. explaining that arrests were underway in multiple states and that more information would be released in coordination with federal agencies. "The people need to know the truth," she said. Foreign governments requested briefings.news. Channels replayed her words in every language. Pam Bondi had just changed the narrative, from fear and secrecy to awareness and vigilance, but as she left the studio that night, escorted quietly through a back exit, her phone buzzed with a single encrypted message from an unknown number. It read, "You said too much." Pam froze, staring at the screen, because deep down she knew. This story wasn't over, it was just beginning. The world had barely begun to process Pam Bondi's revelation when the backlash started. Her interview had set the internet ablaze. People were angry, frightened, and demanding answers. But in Washington, her name had suddenly become radioactive. Inside government offices, red phones rang, and encrypted channels lit up with one repeated message. Who told her? Within hours, multiple agencies were scrambling to contain what they now called an unauthorized disclosure. Pam Bondi had said too much. Officials worried her words could compromise ongoing operations or expose intelligence sources. But behind those official statements was another motive: control. Because what Pam revealed didn't just expose a terror plot, it hinted at something even more dangerous: corruption inside the system. That night, Pam's phone didn't stop buzzing. Reporters called nonstop. Talk shows wanted follow-ups. But among those messages were cryptic, anonymous texts. "Stop talking before you regret it. You don't know who you're dealing with. This goes higher than you think." Pam read them quietly, her hands trembling, not from fear, but from confirmation. She had touched a nerve. The next morning, she arrived at her office only to find 2 black SUVs parked outside. Inside were federal agents, polite but cold. "Ms. Bondi," one of them said, "we need to discuss your recent statements." She invited them in, calm but cautious. They showed her a non-disclosure agreement she had signed years earlier when serving in a classified advisory role. "You're in violation," one agent said. "You revealed operational information without clearance." Pam raised an eyebrow. "I didn't reveal anything classified. I told the truth and that a terror attack was stopped. That's it." The room fell silent. "The public has a right to know," she continued. "You can't hide behind secrecy forever." The agents exchanged uneasy glances. They didn't argue. They just handed her a formal warning and left. But as they drove off, Pam noticed one of them lingered by the door, giving her a look that said more than words ever could. She wasn't just under scrutiny, she was being watched. Meanwhile, the public was split. Half of America hailed her as a hero. The other half accused her of endangering national security. Cable networks ran non-stop coverage. Did Pam Bondi go too far? Whistleblower or reckless insider? Truth-teller or political opportunist? The noise was deafening. Pam stayed quiet for 2 days, watching, listening, observing how the storm evolved. But privately, she began receiving messages from people who claimed to have inside knowledge of what she'd exposed. One message stood out. "You were right. There were Americans involved, but it's not who you think." The email came from an encrypted account with no traceable address. Attached was a small file, just one image, blurred but revealing enough, a security badge from a federal contractor. It confirmed her worst fear. Someone inside the system had helped the attackers. If this were you, if you found evidence of something bigger but dangerous, would you stay silent to stay safe or risk everything to tell the world? Drop your answer below. I want to see how brave my viewers really are. By the 3rd day, Pam started noticing changes around her. Her usual contacts stopped returning calls. A longtime producer at the network told her privately, "Pam, the higher-ups want you off air for a while, just until things calm down." That's when she realized she wasn't just fighting to tell the truth anymore. She was fighting to keep her voice, but Pam wasn't easily intimidated. She had faced courtroom battles, political storms, and public attacks before. This time, though, it felt different, darker. Late one evening, she sat in her dimly lit living room, laptop open, scrolling through old notes and security reports. Her eyes stopped on one particular line from a classified briefing she had attended months earlier. "Potential risk. Compromised contractors with foreign funding. Her heart sank. That line was almost identical to the pattern of corruption she had just exposed. The threat wasn't only external. It was buried within the institutions meant to protect the nation. Suddenly, her phone rang again, an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Ms. Bondi," a man's voice said, low and steady. "You're in danger. Stop talking publicly. They've already decided to silence this." Pam's breath caught. "Who are you?" "Someone who's seen what happens to people who get too close," the man replied. "Please stay off the air, for your own safety." And then the line went dead. That night, Pam barely slept. Outside her window, she could swear she saw a car idling on the corner, headlights off, but engine running. When she looked again 5 minutes later, it was gone. Still, she wasn't the type to be scared into silence. Instead of retreating, she began quietly collecting her evidence and backing up files, saving communications and preparing a statement. She wasn't planning to stop. She was planning to go public and fully. "If I vanish," she whispered to herself, "at least people will know why. Let's be real, if you were in Pam's place, and powerful people tried to silence you, would you disappear quietly? Or go louder than ever? Type louder if you'd stand for truth no matter the cost." By the 5th day after her viral interview, something unexpected happened. A major media outlet released a leaked memo from an unnamed federal department. The memo confirmed everything Pam had said: the foiled attack, the domestic links, even the involvement of private contractors. The leak vindicated her, but it also escalated the danger. Now the whole country knew she had been right all along, and someone, somewhere, had lost control of the cover-up. Pam looked out her office window that evening, watching the city lights flicker below. She knew what this meant. If she didn't reveal everything soon, someone else would try to rewrite the story in their favor. And as her phone buzzed again with another anonymous warning, Pam made her decision. She was done waiting. The next broadcast wouldn't be an interview. It would be a full public expose. Live, unfiltered and irreversible. Pam Bondi was about to drop the truth, no matter the cost. The following evening, the world stopped again. Every news outlet carried the same announcement: Pam Bondi to go live with major revelations regarding the foiled terror attack. Social media erupted within minutes. Millions set reminders, newsrooms prepared emergency coverage, and even government officials stayed glued to their screens. Everyone knew, this time she wasn't holding back. Inside the studio, the atmosphere was electric. The production team whispered nervously. Some wondered aloud if broadcasting this was even safe. But Pam Bondi looked steady, focused. She had rehearsed every word, not to perform but to protect herself. Every fact she was about to share had been verified, double-sourced, and digitally backed up across multiple servers. If anything happened to her, the truth would still get out. As the countdown hit 0, the red light blinked on. Pam faced the camera and began. "Good evening, America. Tonight I'm going to tell you everything that was hidden, not by enemies abroad, but by those we trusted to protect us." The silence was deafening. Pam's voice was calm but sharp, each sentence cutting through the tension like glass. She started from the beginning. The coded messages intercepted by cyber analysts, the intercepted shipments, and the coordinated timing that nearly led to mass chaos. But then, she revealed what no one expected. "The most shocking discovery," she said slowly, "is that this plot could not have progressed this far without help from inside the system." The screen flashed. Images of blurred documents, proof of government contractors and security officials who had quietly funneled information to the attackers. These individuals weren't random, Pam continued. They were embedded in key areas of communication, infrastructure, and security clearance. They knew exactly where to strike and when. Gasps rippled through the live audience. The chat feed on streaming platforms exploded with messages. "She's really doing it. And this is treason. Names. Drop the names, Pam." Pam inhaled deeply. He wanted names. Then here they are. She began listing 3 individuals, all mid-level executives within private defense firms that had government contracts. None were politicians, but all were deeply connected to national projects. As their names appeared on screen, photos, emails, and transaction logs followed. proof of secret payments and encrypted communications traced to known extremist affiliates overseas. These were not mistakes, Pam said firmly. These were deliberate betrayals, carried out by people paid with taxpayer money. The reaction was immediate and explosive. News stations began cutting in, analysts shouting over each other, trying to verify the documents in real time. Government agencies released brief statements urging the public to remain calm and await official clarification. But Pam wasn't done. She leaned forward, eyes locked on the camera lens. There's one more thing you need to know. The attack wasn't just about destruction. It was meant to create chaos. Chaos that would justify more control, more surveillance, and less freedom. The studio fell silent again. Pam was no longer just exposing a plot. She was exposing a motive. They wanted fear, she said softly. Because fear gives power to those who want to control the narrative. Right now, I want your honest opinion. Do you think governments should have the right to hide operations like this for security reasons? Or does the public deserve full transparency? Type your answer below. I read every single one. By now, tens of millions were watching worldwide. International outlets translated her words live. Hashtags like Nadrer Pam Bondi Truth and Nag the Hidden Plot dominated the internet. Pam continued, showing portions of emails exchanged between private contractors and intermediaries overseas, coded with phrases like supply confirmed and green signal. Every document, every timestamp, every dollar trail, she had it all. And then she did something no one expected. She invited one of her anonymous sources, appearing only as a blurred silhouette with a voice modifier, to speak live. The public deserves to know, the source said. There were warnings, but they were ignored. Some officials were told to look the other way. The attack would have succeeded if it weren't for one analyst who refused to delete the data. The room went still. Even the technicians stopped moving. Pam asked quietly, "Why are you coming forward now?" The source hesitated, then replied, "Because the same people who tried to hide this are already preparing the next step. This isn't over." The feed flickered. For a moment, viewers thought it was a glitch, but then the source's video cut off completely. Pam looked straight at the camera, her jaw tightening. That's what happens when truth gets too close to power. If you're still watching, I want to know, would you risk everything to speak the truth even if it meant losing your safety? Type truth first in the comments if you stand for honesty above fear. Within minutes, chaos erupted. Government officials rushed to issue denials, while investigative journalists confirmed the authenticity of several documents Pam had shown. Crowds gathered outside major news studios holding signs reading, "We stand with Pam Bondi." Expose the system, truth over fear. Meanwhile, anonymous hackers began leaking supporting evidence online, proving Pam's claims were real. The broadcast had triggered something unstoppable, a movement. But as the cameras faded to black, Pam's producer whispered urgently through her earpiece, "We're getting reports that your name's been added to a watch list. You need to leave now." Pam stood slowly, the weight of what she'd done sinking in. She had told the world the truth, but at a cost she couldn't yet measure. As she walked out of the studio into the cool night air, her phone buzzed again with a single encrypted message. "They're coming for you." Pam didn't flinch. She looked up at the city skyline, the same one that might not have existed if the plot hadn't been stopped, and whispered to herself, "At least now the world knows." The broadcast had changed everything, and for her, for the country, for the people who dared to listen. But deep inside the shadows of power, new conversations were happening, and some people were already planning their next move. The war for truth had only just begun. The morning after Pam Bondi's explosive broadcast, the world looked different. Cities buzzed with conversation. Offices, schools, and cafes were filled with whispers of what she had said. "Did you see that interview last night? Was she telling the truth? How could the government let that happen?" Everywhere you turned, people were questioning everything. But while the public debated, powerful people were already moving. Inside a private intelligence building just outside Washington, D.C., a room full of officials sat in silence. On a large screen, Pam's face was frozen mid-sentence, though the exact moment she said, "They wanted fear." A gray-haired man in a dark suit leaned forward. "She's a liability," he said coldly. We can't allow her to keep talking. Across the table, another voice added, publicly, we'll call her claims unfounded. Privately, we'll handle her. No one disagreed. The hunt had begun. Pam, meanwhile, was nowhere to be found. After leaving the studio, she had driven for hours under the cover of night, switching cars twice and turning off her phone completely. She knew this would happen. She had seen the look on her producer's face before the final segment ended. She wasn't paranoid. She was prepared. For years, Pam had quietly maintained contacts within law enforcement and independent cybersecurity circles. People who owed her favors. People who believed in truth more than loyalty. That morning, she arrived at a small cabin deep in the Appalachian foothills, one of her safe houses. No signals, no cameras, no trackers. Only an old laptop and a satellite link she could activate manually. She poured herself a cup of black coffee, her hands trembling slightly as she stared at the blank screen. Her broadcast had done what she wanted. It exposed the truth. But it had also made her a target. She opened her laptop and connected to a secure channel. A new message appeared instantly from an unknown contact. Pam, they're wiping everything. Documents, emails, even online archives. They're scrubbing your evidence. You have less than 24 hours before your sources vanish. Pam clenched her jaw. Then we release everything, she typed. Every file, every document, every recording. That's suicide, the contact replied. You'll never stay hidden. I'm not hiding, Pam wrote. I'm finishing what I started. If you were in Pam's place, hunted, alone, but holding the truth, would you risk exposure to tell the world, or stay silent to stay alive? Tell me in the comments right now. There's no wrong answer, and just honesty. Meanwhile, across the country, news stations battled over her story. Some praised her bravery, calling her the voice of accountability. Others painted her as reckless, endangering national stability. Politicians were forced to respond. Press conferences turned chaotic. A White House spokesperson insisted that no classified breach occurred and that the claims made on air were exaggerated. But the public wasn't buying it. Millions were already downloading her archived files from mirror links across the internet. Online forums, digital activists, and whistleblowers were uniting under a new banner. The Bondi files, it became more than a story. It was a movement. College students began hosting live-stream discussions. Former intelligence workers started confirming fragments of Pam's claims. Within 48 hours, 2 of the executives she named were taken into custody for questioning. Pam watched all this unfold from her cabin, her eyes red from lack of sleep. She knew what came next. They would either arrest her or silence her. Still, she felt no fear, only resolve. She recorded a final message, short, unedited, and powerful. If you're watching this, it means they tried to erase me. But truth can't be erased. Every file I've shared lives on in your hands now. Don't stop. Don't let them rewrite the story. This isn't just my fight, it's ours. She hit upload. The file auto-synced to hundreds of servers across multiple countries. The moment it went live, global news alerts lit up again. Pam Bondi resurfaces with encrypted data drop. Authorities on high alert meant truth lives. If you believe no amount of power can bury honesty forever, let's flood this feed so everyone knows the fight isn't over. That night, as rain fell against the cabin windows, Pam heard distant sounds. Engines, maybe drones. She closed her laptop, took a deep breath, and whispered to herself, "They'll find me." But by then, it won't matter. Because somewhere in thousands of homes around the world, ordinary people were opening her files, seeing the truth with their own eyes. And for the first time in a long time, fear began to shift, not toward the people, but toward those who had once controlled them. Pam Bondi had started something unstoppable.